She arrived for a blind date, but when the helicopter touched down, the billionaire froze. It was his secret daughter. Welcome to Beyond Color Stories. I'm your storyteller, James, and I truly hope wherever you are in the world today, you're doing well. Before we embark on this beautiful journey filled with love, emotion, and heart-tugging twists, tell me where you're listening from. I want to see how many loyal viewers remain, growing with me through every story, every chapter, every moment. Your support means everything, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a single moment of passion, romance, and unforgettable tales. Now find a cozy spot, take a deep breath, and let's begin. Turan had just finished tucking Sarah into bed. The soft hum of the lullaby lingered faintly as her daughter's tiny fingers clung to the edge of her favorite stuffed bunny, a thrift shop treasure she'd lovingly mended herself. It had been a long, exhausting day filled with work and errands. The modest two-bedroom apartment she called home was finally quiet, wrapped in a silence only mothers come to cherish, a blend of weariness and peace where reflection feels like an old friend. Sitting on the edge of her worn couch, phone in hand, she tapped out a light-hearted message to her close friend Renee about bedtime struggles and a surprising question Sarah had asked tonight. "Mommy, why don't I have a daddy like my friends?" The question still tugged at her heart, veiled in humor yet raw beneath the surface. In her fatigue, her fingers slipped, misdialing a single digit, and that message, wrapped in quiet pain and disguised with a joke, landed in an unexpected inbox. On the other end was Sam, a billionaire CEO of a tech empire, reclining in the emptiness of his sleek penthouse, glass walls framing a cityscape below. His suit jacket hung off the couch, the top button of his shirt undone, a glass of untouched whiskey in his hand. He'd spent the day locked in meetings, his tone clipped, handling investors and acquisitions with mechanical precision. Sharp, cold, calculating. He wasn't expecting a message, let alone something so personal, so human. When his phone buzzed, and he saw the opening lines about bedtime routines and a daughter's curious question, he almost ignored it, assuming it was a mistake. But something stopped him. Maybe it was how the message ended. "But I guess she's all I've got, and I'm all she needs." He read it twice, then again. He hadn't felt such raw, aching emotion in years. Without hesitation, he typed back, "I think your message came to the wrong person, but it made me pause." Expecting no reply, most would apologize and move on. He was surprised when Turan saw the message, laughed softly, and responded with a blush, "Oh my, so sorry. That was meant for a friend." Mommy brain strikes again. She added a smiley, unsure why she wanted to keep the tone light. Sam's reply was warm, not dismissive, no apology needed. "Honestly, it's the most genuine thing I've read all day." Just like that, a door cracked open, one they hadn't known existed. Days passed, and the messages continued, not often, not overwhelming, but steady, like gentle raindrops falling on thirsty soil. They didn't share names at first, keeping it playful, anonymous, resisting the labels the world loves to impose. Turan talked about raising Sarah, balancing two part-time jobs, and the silly things her daughter said that made her laugh even when her body was too tired to move. Sam replied with genuine curiosity, thoughtful questions, never distant or too important for small talk. He shared he worked in tech, stressed by spreadsheets and deadlines, but offered no more. Turan didn't press. There was comfort in the mystery, like sitting beside someone in darkness, no face needed to feel presence. What surprised her most was how easy it was to open up. Something she hadn't done in years, not since that night 5 years ago when a stranger vanished after leaving her pregnant and alone. That memory, buried deep, was now softened by this unseen man whose tone invited safety, not pressure. Sam, for his part, found himself awaiting her messages with a restless hunger he hadn't known before. He'd been with women, beautiful, clever, flattering, but none stirred him to talk of dreams, feelings, or the smell of rain on a Tuesday. One evening, Turan sent a photo, not of herself but of Sarah, grinning wildly inside a cardboard rocket ship they'd crafted from leftover boxes. Her cheeks dimpled in laughter, braids askew, wearing a cape made from an old scarf. "She thinks she's flying to the moon," Turan wrote, a heart emoji trailing. Sam stared longer than he should, his chest tightening inexplicably. The child's eyes stirred something he couldn't name. He replied softly, "She's got the spirit of an astronaut. I hope she always believes she can fly." Sitting in her small kitchen, sipping reheated coffee, Turan read his words, feeling a tightness in her throat. This accidental connection was blooming quietly, a fragile hope neither dared name. They guarded their secrets closely, especially Turan, who had spent years building walls to protect Sarah from a world unforgiving of imperfect beginnings. She didn't know who this man truly was, yet fear didn't visit her. Meanwhile, Sam felt a shift, a stirring he hadn't felt before: his empire, his boardrooms, or the cold silence of luxury. It was no longer curiosity, it was longing. Then, after nearly a month, Sam asked, "Would you meet someone you've never seen just because they made you feel something you haven't in a long time?" Turan's heartbeat quickened, memories flickering like old film reels. She didn't reply immediately. Gazing at Sarah asleep clutching the bunny, she whispered, "Should I?" The past whispered back pain and confusion. A man who vanished after gifting her a night of stars. But this was different. The morning after, standing by the kitchen counter with a chipped mug of lukewarm coffee, her thoughts a tangled kaleidoscope of emotions, the resort's name glowed on her phone. A sanctuary of quiet cliffs and sea, now etched into her mind like a mystery she wasn't sure she could solve. Her eyes drifted to the calendar pinned to the fridge: rent due, Sarah's school event, a second interview at the bookstore, but her heart clung to one sentence: "Let's meet." No pressure, just honesty. Those words didn't frighten her as they should. Instead, they echoed a gentleness she hadn't realized she'd missed, a door she hadn't known she wanted opened. Turan had always thought love was loud, messy, and fleeting, a wildfire burning bright then gone. That's how it was before, wasn't it? One unforgettable night, then shadows. She convinced herself she was better off alone, that the quiet love she shared with Sarah was enough. But for weeks, she found herself staring at her phone, giggling like a teenager, fingers dancing across the screen. Texting this stranger became her secret ritual, her comfort, distraction, anchor. Sam sat at his desk by floor-to-ceiling windows, sunlight spilling across the stark space he barely called home. He hadn't realized how long he'd been staring at his phone until the screen dimmed. The stillness around him was rare, a man usually consumed by his empire seldom paused. Yet the question he'd sent her weighed heavily: should they meet? It wasn't a deal or a calculation, but something raw, exposing emotions he'd buried long ago. This woman, nameless, signing only with hearts or laughter, had undone something inside him without trying. Their conversations fed a hunger he hadn't recognized. She described life with wonder, sacrifice, and quiet joy, not ambition or prestige, slowly breaking his emotional armor. She didn't flatter or try to impress, she was simply real. In his world, real was priceless. She shared stories of chasing buses, burnt pancakes, and loneliness among crowds. He replied with sarcasm, curiosity, tales of his own, revealing just enough to balance mystery and honesty. Yet, he hadn't told her who he was, not yet. The irony, two strangers talking more honestly in shadows than many do in daylight. That night, their chat began with Turan sending a photo of the twilight sky, a lavender and gold streaking the horizon. "Isn't it amazing how even the sky gets it right sometimes?" she wrote. Sam, fresh off a board meeting, softened at the sight. "I think the sky's jealous of how you see it," he typed, then erased, rewriting. "Looks like it's showing off tonight, must have heard you were watching." She replied with a laughing emoji and "you always know what to say." Their chat stretched longer than usual, silence between messages heavy with unspoken thoughts. They spoke of music. Turan admitted she still sang lullabies when Sarah wasn't listening. Sam confessed to a secret playlist he played alone. A soundtrack that made him someone else entirely. They talked dreams. She wished to open an art studio and teach kids for free. He wondered what it'd feel like to enter a room unnoticed, unburdened by expectation. They shared fears. She feared losing the small family she'd built. He feared emptiness amid abundance. Between their messages, their digital world became more intimate than any room they'd ever shared face to face. Words became touch, sentences warmth. What began as a mistake became a lifeline. Yet, Turan still hadn't told him she was a mother. Each time the moment neared, her fingers froze. Not from shame or doubt, but from something deeper, something unspoken out of fear that revealing the truth might shatter their fragile bond. Sam hadn't told her about who he really was. The man behind the money, the boardrooms, the billion-dollar deals. Not because he wanted to lie, but because, for once, he longed to be seen simply as himself. Near midnight, his message came. "I know this might sound insane, but I want to see you. I want to know if what I feel reading your words is the same when I look into your eyes." Turan's heart raced. She hadn't expected him to ask so soon, yet somewhere deep inside, she'd been waiting for this moment. She glanced at Sarah, peacefully asleep, unaware that her mother's world was about to shift again. Could meeting him end everything before it began? Or could it be the chance she never thought she'd get? Grounding herself by the sink, she whispered, "I don't know what I'm doing." But maybe no one ever really did, not when it came to love. She replied, "If we meet, no masks. Just us, no pretending." "I've had enough illusions." His answer was immediate, "No masks. Just you and me." Morning arrived heavy with promise and warning. Turan woke before dawn, steadying herself as she prepared for the unknown. She wouldn't leave Sarah behind. Her daughter was her truth, her strongest part. Sam, restless in his suite overlooking the ocean, had arranged everything flawlessly, yet nothing compared to the ache in his chest at the thought of seeing her, of finally knowing her beyond words on a screen. At the helipad, as the helicopter touched down, time seemed to freeze. Turan shielded Sarah, her pulse pounding as she stepped onto solid ground. Across the path stood Sam, the man she thought she'd never see again. Recognition slammed into them both like a lightning strike, the years folding into one breathless moment. Sam's eyes dropped to the child clinging to her mother, and something broke inside him. The daughter he never knew, the love he never realized had grown. Their silence spoke volumes until Sarah's whisper, "Mommy," shattered the distance. "I didn't know," Sam finally said, voice thick and broken. "She's yours," Turan answered, fragile yet certain. The truth crashed over them, raw and overwhelming. Sam sank to his knees. Not in defeat, but undone by the weight of years lost, love rediscovered, and the daughter who. It was a moment he had to feel fully, raw and unfiltered, because only then could the truth start to rebuild them. Sarah, still silent, reached out a tiny hand, her fingers brushing his wrist, an instinctive touch that made him flinch like fire. When his eyes met hers, those sweet, uncertain eyes, something inside him broke loose, a deep sound born of loss and grace. He reached out slowly, trembling, barely touching her hand, afraid to hold a blessing he didn't deserve. In that instant, everything shifted. Lightning settled in his bones. He was her father. "I didn't know," he whispered, voice raw with regret. "If I had known, I swear." The words shattered against the weight of 5 years lost, empty lullabies, unmarked birthdays. Turan nodded, arms wrapped tight around herself, fighting back her own scream. "I know," she said quietly. "I had to protect her and myself. You were gone. I didn't even know if I'd ever see you again. By the time I found out, it was too late." Tears streaked his face, eyes pleading. Not for forgiveness, but to be seen, to be trusted, to belong. "It's not too late," he said, voice trembling. "Please, let it not be too late." Sarah looked between them, thumb rubbing her rabbit's ear, sensing the shift. "Mommy, why is the man crying?" Turan kissed her temple, heart breaking again. "Because he just realized how much he loved someone he didn't know he had." Sam crawled closer, voice soft with awe. "Hi, Sarah. I'm Sam. I think I might be your daddy." Sarah studied him, then offered her rabbit. "You can hold Mr. Waffles if you're sad." Sam choked on a sob, accepting the gift like a lifeline. A fragile bridge from the man he was to the father he wanted to be. Sarah turned away to chase a butterfly. Sam felt the weight of responsibility settle deep in his veins. Turan stood nearby, arms crossed not in anger but protection, guarding a heart cracked open by absence and now trembling with hope. Kneeling there, broken and bare, Sam lifted his eyes to Turan. No pride, no walls, only grief and a desperate love. "I never knew," he whispered, voice raw and splintered. "I swear I didn't know." Turan's voice cracked, her own wounds spilling out. "You left. You never looked back." The truth hung heavy between them like smoke from a long-dead fire. Sam bowed his head, hands finding hers, not to hold, but to beg silently, "Forgive me. For everything I missed, every lonely night, every question you had to answer alone. Please." He pressed his forehead to her hand, a man praying for a chance to be better, to move forward. Turan's tears blurred her vision as years of anger collided with this raw, aching truth. The love buried beneath absence was flooding back like lava, scorching everything, including Sarah, who suddenly returned, wrapping tiny arms around Sam's neck. In that embrace, 1,000 scars began to heal. Sam felt seen, not by the world, but by the one person who mattered most. His walls crumbled silently, tears flooding anew as he whispered into her hair, "You're really mine." Turan watched them, feeling her anger dissolve into grief, then longing, then something new, something fragile yet undeniable. She knelt beside them, touching Sarah's back and Sam's shoulder. When he met her eyes, there was no going back, only a desperate hope to move forward together. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in violet and amber, the silence on the drive home was no longer cold. It was a shared, tentative peace, an unspoken promise that maybe, just maybe, tomorrow could be worth finding out. Her silence no longer meant resistance, it meant feeling. She watched how he looked at Sarah with awe, how he played tea party on the floor like a man new to this world, how he fixed a broken drawer with quiet determination, burned his finger making her coffee but still smiled proudly, and how sometimes he stared at her. Not to conquer, but because he already knew she held every piece of him that mattered. Slowly, Turan's heart began to ease the pain it had carried for so long. The walls around it didn't fall, but they cracked, letting in light through moments she never thought she'd feel again. The gentle brush of his arm on the balcony, the small notes he left in Sarah's lunchbox signed with a simple S. The wonder in his eyes as he watched her braid Sarah's hair. He admired her not out of guilt or desire, but reverence. This man who once avoided the unknown was now firmly inside it, learning to be a father not by a manual, but by loving, failing, and showing up. And Turan, who had shielded her daughter for years, found herself slowly lowering her guard, not blindly but because she wanted to trust again. Sam didn't just want to be a father, he wanted to be present in the quiet moments, the crumbs on Sarah's chin, the kisses on her hand when she thought he wasn't watching. Their penthouse transformed, not in structure but in soul. Toys, laughter, scents, inside jokes filled the space once cold and vast. Turan caught herself dreaming, not of escape but belonging, not just for Sarah but for herself. What if love wasn't just a vow or a sacrifice but a daily showing up? What if this was the beginning, not the end? One evening, beneath jasmine-scented air and city lights, Sam turned to her, vulnerable and hopeful, and said softly, "Marry me, not for the past, but for everything we haven't lived yet." It wasn't the diamond but the tremble in his hands that moved her. She whispered yes, the first line of a story she never thought she'd get to live. They married quietly, away from spectacle, surrounded by nature and sacred promises. Turan's gown was simple, soft, reflecting the woman she had become. Sarah, a joyful flower girl, scattered petals too soon, laughter filling the garden. They vowed truth and healing. "You were my heartbreak once. Now you're the safest place I've ever known." And Sam promised to never miss another moment. Back at their penthouse, life pulsed with warmth. Dinner on the floor, Sarah dancing in a flower dress, jazz humming softly. Their wedding night was not haste but reverence, undressing slowly, touching each scar and curve with longing and love. They returned to each other piece by piece, heart to heart. Morning light found them tangled in warmth, a slow rhythm without schedules or distractions. Sam whispered her name like a prayer, she smiled, trusting again. Love became a language of quiet devotion, kisses that healed, hands that held, dreams built together, their home filled with laughter, stories, and the sacred hum of belonging. Sam made rules, no meetings past 6, no business calls at dinner, because presence mattered more than power. He listened, truly listened, and when she dreamed aloud, he planned beside her. And on quiet nights when Sarah slipped between them, they held their miracle close, hearts beating a lullaby of gratitude. Sam looked at Turan with silent thanks, not just for the child, but for the love that had finally found them. Their passion never faded, it grew deeper, richer, a connection beyond flesh, a love that changed with every breath. When he whispered something soft and filthy about learning exactly how she liked to be touched after a hard day, Turan found herself craving him not just with her body but with her soul, needing him like air. The weight of his arm around her waist at night, the roughness of his stubble against her skin as he kissed her shoulders in the morning, these small touches became their sanctuary. He grew addicted to her gaze. The way she looked at him holding Sarah's hand at the grocery store, the way she lit up when he cooked her terrible meals but tried anyway, the way her body melted into his as if it belonged nowhere else. Every corner of the penthouse witnessed their story. Slow dances in pajamas in the hallway, laughter on the kitchen island with stolen kisses, wrapped in blankets on the balcony under the stars, remembering their past with gratitude, not pain. Love was in the quiet moments. Sam brushing hair from her face while she read, Turan slipping notes into his coat, the way they clung to each other through storms both literal and emotional. This was no longer about a CEO or a woman left behind. It was about two souls who refused to be defined by heartbreak, choosing love again and again until it became unstoppable. Sam transformed quietly but deeply, from ruthless tycoon to devoted father and husband. Mornings started with him taming Sarah's wild curls, despite 3 YouTube tutorials and endless giggles. And breakfast was a mess of pink pancakes and syrup kisses. School drop-offs became rituals of encouragement and pride. while weekends were sacred escapes to beaches and laughter. Rumors of Sam's softening swirled in corporate circles, but he barely noticed. Each missed meeting was a bedtime story, each declined dinner an hour spent watching Sarah twirl in fairy wings. He built a colorful library for her, chased her on the rooftop garden, and cheered louder than any parent at school events. Turan watched it all, her heart swelling as Sam rewrote his story, not just to win her back but to become the man she never dared hope for, present, loving, and fully committed. When their son Hope arrived, named for the promise he embodied, Sam's triumph was no longer measured in business deals but in the warmth of family. Their penthouse, once cold and lonely, bloomed into a home filled with laughter, bedtime lullabies, and whispered vows. Night after night, as Sam rocked Hope and Turan rested against him, they kissed with a love deepened by trials and time. No longer fragile but unbreakable. Outside the world's chaos, their family thrived in the quiet magic of everyday moments, messy ponytails, sleepy giggles, and the pulse of a love powerful enough to heal all wounds. This chapter of their lives was not defined by grandeur or spectacle, but by a simple, profound truth. No matter what storms had raged before, they now had an unshakable anchor in each other and in hope. They were the living testament to all they had endured and all they dreamed of becoming. Sam often found himself marveling at the life they had built, not perfect, but real, filled with imperfect moments made all the brighter because they were shared. Moments like Sarah's laughter ringing through the hallways, Turan's gentle hand resting in his, or the peaceful, trusting gaze of their son as he slept, safe, loved. The rain outside eventually ceased, and with dawn came a new light, touching every corner of their penthouse and every part of their hearts. It was a daily reminder that love was not just a story to be told, but a living, breathing presence filling their home with meaning, with hope, with forever. The outside world, with its glaring lights and endless chatter, often felt like a tempest threatening to uproot the delicate peace Sam and Turan had fought so hard to create. But instead of fracturing them, every rumor, every whispered accusation, every flashing camera became fuel for their resolve to protect the sanctuary they had built with love and sweat. Once a man driven by power and accolades, Sam now wore his greatest pride not in tailored suits or boardroom victories, but in the unyielding support he gave Turan. Publicly, he praised her strength and grace in interviews and social gatherings, refusing to let false narratives or jealous exes cloud the truth of their bond. Privately, he was her rock, the steady hand that held hers through every storm, the voice reminding her she was never alone, that no tabloid headline could touch the family they had forged. When the tabloids twisted stories to cast shadows of doubt on Turan, Sam's response was a fierce, unshaken declaration of love, clear proof that behind every glowing smile was a woman who had weathered storms with unbreakable courage, and a man who cherished her not despite the past, but because every scar told their story. He adjusted his schedule without hesitation, taking leaves from the relentless demands of the CEO role to be present at doctor appointments, school events, and quiet evenings when the weight of the world could be set aside in favor of family dinners filled with laughter and conversation, where no phone rang to pull them away, and no crisis overshadowed the simple joy of shared meals and stories. Their mansion, once just a sprawling house filled with luxury but little warmth, had transformed into a home, a living, breathing space where every hallway echoed with Sarah's gleeful laughter, where walls bore the marks of birthdays and milestones, where photographs chronicled the evolving story of their family, and quiet corners held the soft whispers of late-night talks and tender embraces between Sam and Turan. Turan, her spirit glowing with a peace and confidence born from healing and love, poured her creativity into a new passion project, a children's book series, inspired by Sarah's boundless imagination and kindness. These stories celebrated courage, kindness, and the magic of family, each page a testament to the life she wanted to build not only for her own children but for countless others who needed hope and inspiration. True to his nature, Sam became her biggest champion, supporting her dreams with the same fervor that had once driven him to conquer business empires. His pride shone as brightly as any corporate accolade because he knew that in encouraging her, he was nurturing the very soul of their family. Together, they faced life's inevitable storms, unexpected health scares, business challenges, the occasional sting of old wounds reopening, but through every trial, love was their anchor, steadying them against the tide and reminding them what truly mattered. They learned that perfection was a myth, a distant star they no longer needed to chase. Instead, they embraced their realness, the messy moments, the imperfections that made their love vibrant and alive. The passionate arguments that always ended in forgiveness and deeper understanding. No matter the outside noise, the jealousy, doubts, and endless speculation, they chose each other every day. They reaffirmed their vows in quiet, unspoken ways. In the way Sam held Taran's hand in the dark, in the way Taran smiled at him across a crowded room, in the way Sarah's eyes sparkled when she looked at her parents, united and strong, their love was not loud or flashy but a fierce, unbreakable flame that warmed every corner of their lives, a shield protecting their family from shadows and a beacon lighting the path forward, no matter how uncertain or challenging the road. On lazy Sunday mornings, gathered in the cozy living room with Sarah reading aloud her favorite book and Hope giggling in Taran's arms, Sam often marveled at how far they'd come. How a family once fractured by absence and pain had woven itself together into a tapestry rich with laughter, hope, and unwavering devotion. In those moments, with the sun filtering softly through the windows and the scent of fresh coffee mingling with the sound of children's voices, the chaos of the world seemed miles away, reduced to nothing more than a distant memory. Powerless against the fortress of love and commitment they had built brick by brick, day by day. The challenges that had once threatened to tear them apart instead forged a bond stronger than either had dared to dream. A reminder that sometimes the fiercest battles are not fought on distant fields or in boardrooms, but in the quiet determination to hold on, to forgive, to believe in each other, even when the world doubts. Through it all, Sam and Taran stood side by side, their hearts beating as one. A family worth fighting for in every sense of the word. No scandal, no shadow of the past, no hungry gossip could diminish the light they carried. The light of two souls who had found each other again and refused to let go, who faced every obstacle with courage and grace and chose love above all else, building a legacy not of wealth or fame, but of hope, healing, and the unshakable power of family. Years slipped by like a gentle river, carrying with it the golden hues of countless sunsets and the soft echoes of laughter shared in quiet corners. And through every twist of time, the love between Sam and Taran did not merely endure. It blossomed into something richer, more profound than either had dared imagine. The walls of their penthouse, once mere structures of glass and stone, now breathed with the rhythm of their lives, a sanctuary alive with memories layered like petals unfolding in a never-ending bloom of joy, healing, and togetherness. Every room held the gentle imprint of daily rituals and the unmistakable fragrance of home, a fragrance made of warm mornings, soft whispers, and the tender pulse of love's quiet power. Each evening, when the city's ceaseless hum faded into a distant murmur and stars pricked the velvet sky with shimmering light, Sam and Taran found themselves drawn to the heart of their home, the living room where the world beyond ceased to matter. Music floated softly, a gentle jazz melody weaving through the air like a lullaby meant only for them. They danced barefoot, skin brushing skin, smiles tender and eyes full of unspoken promises. Their movements were slow and deliberate, as if every step was a sacred vow reaffirmed in the glow of soft lamplight. Their children lay peacefully asleep, unaware yet surrounded by the unbreakable thread of love binding them all together. Fridays became their cherished ritual, a simple but profound gesture of devotion that had taken root in their souls. Sam never failed to bring Taran roses, each blossom carefully chosen, a fragrant declaration of affection and gratitude. The petals were as soft as the words he whispered when handing her the bouquet. "I still fall for you daily," a phrase carrying the weight of years, the thrill of rediscovery, and the comfort of unwavering commitment, all wrapped into one tender confession. Taran, in turn, nurtured her love with quiet creativity, capturing her feelings in poems that flowed from her heart like streams of light, verses woven with tenderness and passion. In love letters carefully folded and slipped into Sam's briefcase, small surprises spoke louder than any grand gesture. Notes he would find between meetings or on long flights, each word a reminder that their love was a living, breathing entity, growing stronger every day. Their children thrived under this shelter of love. Sarah blossomed into a brilliant young girl, her laughter bright, her spirit curious and kind, her eyes reflecting the beauty of the world and the security of a family who believed in her unconditionally. Hope carried the best of both his parents in his smile, the gentle warmth of his mother's heart and the quiet strength of his father's presence, a boy embodying the promise of tomorrow and the legacy of love Sam and Taran had nurtured so carefully. Their penthouse, Once just an elegant dwelling of marble and glass, now sang with the sounds of family life, the patter of little feet racing down the halls, the soft murmur of bedtime stories told under the glow of nightlights, the quiet giggles shared over secret jokes, and the comforting rhythm of daily routines filled with small acts of love and kindness that knit them together in a tapestry stronger than any fortune. Each night, before the world slipped away into sleep, Sam held Taran close. His arms a fortress of safety and tenderness, the steady beat of his heart syncing with hers in a timeless rhythm. He whispered words that had become their sacred mantra. One wrong text brought me the greatest right of my life. A reflection on fate's mysterious hand that had brought them back when they had once been lost, a confession that every moment since had been a miracle unfolding, a gift of love they would never take for granted. Taran smiled against his chest, her lips brushing his skin in a kiss that reached deep into his soul. Her soft voice a balm to all wounds and doubts, forever begins every night right here with you. Words echoing the truth of their journey, that love was not just a destination but a continuous beginning, a daily renewal found in the quiet intimacy of shared moments and the unspoken promise that whatever the future held, they would face it hand in hand. Their nights became sacred rituals of connection, dancing slowly under the soft glow of city lights filtering through the windows, fingers intertwined, skin warm, hearts open. Laughter mingled with whispered dreams and gentle caresses, a dance of souls transcending time and hardship, a celebration of love's enduring power to heal and transform. They spoke of futures bright with hope, plans for holidays on sandy beaches under starlit skies, hopes for Sarah's and Hope's dreams to take flight in worlds full of possibility, and quiet wishes for years stretching endlessly before them, each one a thread woven into the tapestry of their shared life. Their home was alive with memories, birthdays filled with balloons and cake, lazy Sundays wrapped in cozy blankets and storybooks, mornings bursting with sunlight and the scent of fresh coffee, and nights when the world outside ceased to exist, replaced by the gentle cadence of whispered endearments and the steady rhythm of two hearts beating as one. Through every season, their love deepened, growing in patience, understanding, and a profound tenderness that could only come from enduring every storm together and choosing each other time and again. They learned to see not just perfection but the beauty in flaws, the strength in vulnerability, the courage in forgiveness. They built a legacy not of riches or titles but of a family rooted in love's truest form, a sanctuary where each member was cherished, supported, and endlessly loved. The children thrived in this haven, their spirits buoyed by the strength of their parents' bond, growing up knowing love was not just words or grand gestures but the small everyday moments of kindness and presence that truly made a home. As the years folded into decades, Sam and Taran found themselves grateful for every twist of fate that led them here, the unexpected text that rekindled a love thought lost, the courage to forgive and rebuild, the unspoken promises kept in quiet moments before sleep. Their penthouse stood not just as a monument to success, but as a living testament to love's ability to conquer pain and build something everlasting, a place where every corner, every shadow, every beam of light was infused with the warmth of their journey together. In the glow of countless sunsets and under the watchful gaze of the stars, they knew forever was not a distant dream but a present reality, alive in every touch, every smile, every whispered word shared in the sanctuary of their love. And so, as the city settled into night and their children's breaths deepened in peaceful slumber, Sam and Taran danced once more, barefoot and bound by hearts that had found home in each other, forever beginning every night, right here, together.